What's up, nerds? It's your boy, the OGGM, coming to you live on a hazy Monday morning here in Southern California at Site B, wherever I live. We have survived X Games. We had the X Games. We hosted the X Games. A couple people are like, "Why are you hosting the X Games? What does Ventura County, Santa Barbara, and Oxnard have to do with BMX and skateboarding and skateboard culture and skate punk?" And I was just like, "Really? Really? What does Southern California, Oxnard, Ventura, Santa Barbara have to do with skate punk? I mean, other than the fact that's literally where it started? Nothing at all. All right. It's time to take a look at the tabletop role-playing game news for Monday. What's old is new seems to be apropos because every week we say the exact same thing, and every week we're not let down. So once again, it's time to set our sails, chart our course, get out our sextant. I said sex. And see where the waves of the tabletop role-playing game nonsense are going to take us this week. So I made a couple videos about this, and apparently somebody called me out on it that I didn't do my due diligence. So let me respond in saying, well, based upon the information I had at my disposal, I said my opinion of what I thought it was. I'm sorry if I upset you. I'm going to look deeper into it, because if somebody calls me out and actually does it in a way that isn't, insulting, I will go over it. So if I got information on what's old is new wrong, I will take a look at it again. But so anyways, this is, I guess, reaching the end of its Kickstarter. So you still have a chance to support it. It's gone down to $24. Well, $24 European. I don't know what that is. American money, but it's probably not that different. Plus shipping. So $30 European, which I think is more. When I was in England, $1 got me $1.50 back in British money. So, yeah, I think, I don't remember, but still $30 for this box set to be sent to you is pretty awesome, I would say. So if it's something you're interested in, check it out. It comes with 3 introductory adventures, a fantasy adventure, a modern day-ish adventure, and a future-ish adventure, and then ideas on the 3 settings. It seems to be focusing on those 3 settings, though it looks like it has potential doorways to open up to more generic type role-playing type idea. Is it doing the Trinity thing where the fantasy connects with the modern day, connects with the science fiction? Well, Trinity did pulp, modern day superheroes, and then futuristic, psychic futuristic was their storyline. Pulp into superheroes into the future with psychics. So yeah, that's what little we know about it, other than it's available. This is the second edition, which means that there's a first edition out there somewhere, which I think is correct, because I know I've heard, excuse me, somewhere in the back of my convoluted, confused brain, I remember seeing this mentioned once before. And at least one other person has responded that they think they saw a previous edition on a shelf at a game store somewhere. So maybe something existed. And now they've got a new one coming out. So yeah, congratulations. Always nice and interesting to see generic systems if they actually have the wherewithal to make it. But I mean, Powered by the Apocalypse is experiencing a whole new resurgence after all the years it's been kicking around. So right place, right time. Who knows? Next year, Once Old is New could be the system that Critical Role uses to run an alternative game if Illuminated Worlds fails, which kind of looks like it's going to. Ba-da-ba-bam! Wizards of the Coast has announced the Planescape stuff and all the other stuff that's coming out between now and the end of the year. The calendar has changed a little from what they originally suggested what the calendar was. Now, originally, it looked like the 2023 calendar was going to end with the Fendelvin reprint / expansion going into Planescape, end the year with Planescape, start 2024 with the whole Vecna storyline. It looks like some of the things have moved around. And now it looks like the year is ending with the book about the Deck of Many Things, which is an unusual choice to end the year on. You would think you would want to end the year with the end of the arc that has been going through the entire 2014 to now D&D line, even though, depending upon what day of the week it is, there either is a entire story arc involving the Black Obelisk, or there isn't, because there is no canon / story arc in D&D 2014 through now. So I don't know. The Black Obelisk storyline was supposed to be explained in Rime of the Frost Maiden. It was hinted at, but never fulfilled. Since Rime, they've been like, yeah, we're going to tell it. And the Fendelvin thing is supposed to tell the final, what was the whole thing about. In 2015, when we first started hearing about it, I think generally people were like, it's Vecna. And turns out we are 90% right, like 90% likely that the main villain of the Black Obelisk storyline is Vecna, because the main villain of 2024 D&D, of the only adventure they've announced so far for 2024, is the Vecna year-long arc. Now, hindsight tells me maybe they're doing the same thing that they did with the Time of Troubles, and how they used the Time of Troubles to explain all the transformations and changes between the old edition and the new edition, which was a brilliant way to do it, even though even back then they did it completely wrong, because they stretched it out over too long of a period of time, to by the time that people were done with Time of Troubles, both the adventures and the novels, they were like, I don't care. This is boring. It took you way too long to tell a 20-minute story. So that is what we're guessing. And of course, we have a whole bunch of new stuff in honor of the changes, including deluxe boxes of the Planescape and Fendelvin and everything else is coming out. The regular boxes and stuff and artwork and the Beatles and Grimm stuff. They have explained, apparently Wizards of the Coast was listening to me, because they have explained, while the gnome individual is in fact Bigby, at least currently, the lore is that they were out on an adventure, Bigby, Mordecai, and the others. Bigby somehow got stepped on by a frost giant, died, failed all 3 of his death saving throws. Nobody took time out to, take an action to heal him. Nobody in the party of people like Mordecai had 1 healing potion to pour on him. None of them had brought any type of healing or resurrection magic with them. I find it hard to believe that a wizard of Bigby's level would not have 1 contingency spell cast on him. If I die, then Mordecai didn't have any wishes or, even healing potions on him. But for some reason, somebody had reincarnate. So they're like, it's Bigby. Let's cast reincarnate on him and see what he comes back as. And he came back as a gnome that looks exactly like Scanlan from Critical Role, and whose spells now look like Scanlan's spells. Because what do most people now associate Bigby's with? Bigby's Grasping Hand became Scanlan's Hand. We had 2 seasons of Scanlan's Hand on the Critical Role Vox Machina cartoon. So I think generally most people associate the spell with Scanlan. So they're like, yeah, let's make him a gnome. So they'll have that subconscious connection. Plus, that way we don't have to actually give any money to the guy who originally created Bigby. Moving on, there's a 2nd edition of the Laundry Files RPG based upon the novel series by Charles Stross. This is from Crucible 7. It's about a underfunded government organization that deals with all the weird Men in Black type stuff. But slightly more serious than the comedic tone of Men in Black. It will use the new C7D6 system, but not the 7D20 system. So this is using the 7D6 Crucible 7 system, but not the Crucible 7 7D20 system. So we still don't know anything about the 7D20 system, their take on how they're going to compete with 2024 D&D. But this is the 2nd version coming out. Looks like it's coming out sometime next year, probably coincidental with Halloween. Fantasy Age 2nd edition came out from Green Ronin, kind of just very subtly, quietly released it. Didn't do a huge, big media thing or anything. Just so yeah, Fantasy Age 2nd edition core rulebook is out and available. It is their take on 3/5/D20 fantasy role playing. It is different enough that I guess it now falls under the ORC and not the OGL. There was a big thing about how Fantasy Age 2nd edition was going to be set in Freeport, my favorite city setting, and one of my the only thing from these guys I really absolutely love. I love Freeport. I love the setting. So I was very excited to see some new Freeport love. But instead, nope, they're setting it in Freeport Light, someplace called Baywater, which is basically reskin Freeport. I sent them a letter asking about the future plans for Freeport, and they said they have some. Meanwhile, we also know they are working on a mysterious new role-playing game that is not D20, not percentile. It's completely new and different, but it is based upon something they've worked with in the past. So best guess, D100 or Savage Worlds. But this is a D20 system, so if you're looking for a very interesting take on D20 fantasy role-playing, the second edition of this is out. It is receiving relatively good reviews, so, but damn. Then there's this thing. I already talked about this thing. Monty Cook is releasing an incredibly expensive book featuring all sorts of random tables and articles about taking your normal game of choice and turning it into gonzo weird with like hundreds of random tables. Because, you can't find those random tables online for free. Or you could just, I don't know, go over and buy Chalt from Venger because he's been doing the exact same thing for years. Or you can give Monty Cook $60 for this. Come On has signed the deal with Marvel/Disney to make all the product for the upcoming Marvel Multiverse role-playing game. That's not the actor/rapper Come On. It's a company called Come On. They also make other board games and props for board games. They're most well known for their work on Zombicide. Looks right now they're just making 6-siders for the 616 system for the Marvel Multiverse role-playing game, brought to us by Marvel/Disney. Of course, now there's some hemming and hawing that they might sell off Marvel, which means they'd have to change it again, because now I think there's a rumor going around that they're going to sell Marvel to Apple. That would make absolutely no sense after all the energy you invested in creating Marvel-based chunks of your land, Disney, to now say, oh, we no longer own Marvel. So Apple, if you want us to continue hosting the Marvel role-playing game Marvel stuff on our, Disney, you'd have to pay us rent, maybe? That's the only reason why I could think I would doing it. No, it would be stupid to invest the billions of dollars they've spent on Marvel Land at, Disneyland and all the expansions for Marvel Land, and then to say we're selling off Marvel. Nah, even if Marvel is apparently losing money. The SAG, Writers of a Guild of America strike is still going on. There's a lot of questions of how this is going to affect our industry, especially with like Critical Role and Dimensions 20. And I don't know. I don't know enough about Dimensions 20 and the people on Dimension 20 to make any guesses about whether they are, just because you're doing something online, role-playing, doesn't mean you are in SAG. In order to do SAG, to be in the Screen Actors Guild, bare minimum, you have to work 50 hours or more on a Screen Actors Guild prop movie, as it could be an extra or whatever. Most extras, when they get called online, when I was working casting, it was 40 for 8. If you got the SAG bump, it would go up to $500. And you had to do that enough times to earn your SAG card. And then, of course, you could start working SAG productions and making the real money and slowly working your way up the cinematic hill. Now, obviously, even current SAG guidelines probably doesn't take into account something like Critical Role. It's a whole new, relatively recent world that probably, was never even considered until recently. Everybody on Critical Role probably is in SAG. Most of them are in SAG. A lot of them have done on-screen and SAG stuff. So yeah, probably. And they've been around a lot longer than we think, because even if we just associate them with Critical Role, we tend to forget that they all used to have careers in Hollywood as voice actors and mocap actors and video game actors. Then Critical Role became a career for some of them, but a lot of them are still working in the industry. So how does the strike affect them? Because they fall into a very weird little niche because the video, the YouTube Twitch stuff technically isn't SAG. VTubers and these guys, they are technically in a little teeny weird gray space that SAG hasn't considered yet, which now they need to set, now we need to consider. Now, because they're in SAG and they work on SAG related projects, and SAG basically says, if we go on strike, you have to also go on strike, even if what we're striking on doesn't affect you. So they could strike, or they could not strike, because, as people said, since they work for themselves as Critical Role, technically it doesn't fall under what they're striking about, since they're their own bosses and they pay themselves. So they could, post letters and do charity streams and do the stuff that they are doing. We support SAG, and still do Critical Role and still do the live thing that they're doing in London in October. Or they could take hiatus and to support the strike and walk the strike line just like everybody else, knowing that they've got enough stuff that they've pre-recorded to still run, and that they could still technically make money off. Because, even though this guy's on strike, if his movies are still playing or if his commercials are still playing, he's getting money still. So even he's getting that residuals and he's getting that syndication. And if he's lucky enough to have done a commercial, as Tony Crandall said, never leave a series and always do commercials. So they're still making money. So if Critical Role has stuff in the can that is pre-recorded, they could release it, probably carry them through another month or two, and then walk the line. And they would be in that gray area where we're still making money, but we're not producing anything, so we're supporting the strike. Or again, because of the gray area, they could say, well, we're still producing because it doesn't affect what we do as YouTubers. It only affects what we do as actors and voice actors. So that part we support, but in the support of Critical Role, it doesn't really affect us. Because right now, again, and I am not speaking with any level of authority, just my basic understanding of the SAG newsletter I receive, since I'm in SAG and the WGA. So the problem is Critical Role. And Critical Role, as we know, has a very, very passionate fan base. So if they do strike, people are going to say crap about them. If they don't strike, people are going to say crap about them. So damned if they do, damned if they don't. But so, yes, there are questions as to how the strike will affect the people who are doing the YouTube, Twitter gaming. Who knows? And that's it for the tabletop role-playing game news of the week. That was the stories we will be charting our course for the week is Wizards of the Coast nonsense, strike nonsense, Critical Role nonsense. What are we upset about this week? Let's find out. It's Monday, so who knows? I'm the OGGM. If you appreciate this nonsense, let me know. If you don't appreciate this nonsense, let me know. If you have any insight into the SAG thing, there's more than me, let me know. Again, I apologize if I got my initial rule for what's old is new wrong. I have tried to redo it. Interesting to see where it goes, because you never know. It could be successful. It could fail. It could flounder around and then suddenly experience a brand new influx of popularity. I mean, Powered by the Apocalypse is a perfect example. It was really, really popular. It came out, then it's been floundering around. And then recently we've had multiple Powered by the Apocalypse YouTube streams. So yeah, we had the Critical Role stream using Powered by the Apocalypse. We recently had the VTuber stream with Mousy and all these other VTubers who did a run through a game of Monster of the Week run by Demon Dice. So yeah, who knows? It's only $24, so why not pick it up if you're a collector? That's it for the news. Remember, if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. Help me hit 2,000 subs by the end of the year. I'll talk to you later. See ya.